Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video we're going to be talking about the event card that is going to be shaping the upcoming premier events for the Alpha Class TCG in Clashground, Makita, as well as ClashCon and the Pro Tour. Talk about how this event card is going to shape the meta, some Clashgrounds that you could see have a big impact depending on what decks are being played, and also go over some contenders that I think that our mainstay staples that are going to probably be pretty good in this format for these two events, but also some underdogs or some sleeper picks, if you will. So we'll get right into it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Discord down below, as well as the creator worksheet for access to a lot of creators who cover all of the games that I do on the channel, and we'll get right into it. So again, I'm going to go over this really fast, and I'm going to kind of rehash these on video to video as I go along, because I know a lot of my audience is not native Alpha Clash players. So what Alpha Clash does at their premier events, like their, I guess for my audience, like their calling level events that they call Clashgrounds, these are like regional and national level events. They do what are called event cards. So event cards are meant to start and play and pretty much stay in play outside of a few very unique ways to get rid of them. But it's basically this card that both players have access to from turn 0 that kind of shapes the format. The card for the upcoming two events is the Hidden Hand, as you see here in the middle of the screen. So this will start in the field, or on the field, on both sides for both players. It has exclusive and safeguard, which means you only can have one of it on the field at a time. That's what exclusive means, and safeguard means it's basically impervious to removal effects. There's like one very unique way to bounce something like this, but it has safeguard overall. It's probably not going to go off the field very often. So it's a relic accessory, which means it sits in your accessory zone. And it says while you control a Clashground, your contender gets +1/+0. Clashgrounds are symmetrical like effects, or can be symmetrical if it affects both players that go onto the field, and they do not get removed unless otherwise interacted with, or unless the other person plays another Clashground, or you play a Clashground yourself. So if I play a Clashground, it stays in play until either I play another one or my opponent plays one, and then it replaces that Clashground. Clashgrounds normally are very powerful symmetrical effects that we'll talk about here in a second. So now if you control one, your contender gets +1/+0, and depending on what type of contender you have, they can be really powerful. The first time each turn a Clashground you control comes into play, draw a card. So it's a way to get more card draw. There already are Clashgrounds that get card draw effects, so you could really get some card advantage depending on what style you're using. We'll talk about that here in a second. And then finally, it has a defensive ability that says counterattack, engage. If an opponent controls a Clashground, target Clash card gets super speed until end of turn. So even though you can buff your contender with your Clashgrounds with this card, you also have some defensive abilities if your opponent is the one controlling the Clashground zone. On the left and right are just some of the promos that are going to be at these events. Hunger of the Void is a promo for participating, and then Thragor is one of the event cards that comes in the PvE gauntlet that they'll be talking about as well. So getting into it, we have a bunch of Clashgrounds. There are 71 Clashgrounds in the game. As I said, Clashgrounds typically are symmetrical based effects. There are a few that are only for your side of the field, but for the most part, they affect both sides. Now, depending on your opponent's structure and what they're playing, it could or could not affect them. One of the most commonly used staple Clashgrounds, especially in any deck that runs green, or pretty much every deck that runs green, is Amazon Rainforest. It has a trigger enter ability. You may draw a card, and it says during the draw step of each player's expansion phase, they draw one additional card, then discard a card. So during your draw step at the start of your turn, instead of drawing one card, you'll draw two, and then you discard one. So it's just a way to thin your deck, get to the cards you need to get to, and kind of get more card draw. It also lets you draw a card on enter. So if you think about going back to this event card, and it's above me as well, is it says the first time each turn a Clashground you control comes into play, draw a card. So if you play Amazon Rainforest, you can be drawing 2 cards, essentially. And then you're also going to be drawing 2 cards on your next turn, and then discarding a card. So you draw 4 cards, discard 1 in a 2-turn cycle. Pretty good for card advantage. Another one is Denver, and this is showing you the symmetrical effects. Rainforest also works for your opponent too, but it says Alpha Hunter and Rogue Clash cards get +1/+0. Trigger enter, you may draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So when this enters field and with the new event card, you're going to be actually drawing 3 cards, 1 from Hidden Hand and then 1 from Denver. So you're going to get more card draw, and then also it affects obviously Alpha Hunter and Rogue Clash cards. So if you're running those type of classes, it's going to be really beneficial for you. And this kind of shows, like, for anyone that's not familiar with the game, if you're not those 2 symbols are Alpha Hunter and Rogue cards. So if you're running an Alpha contender with a lot of Alpha cards, then this wouldn't affect you as much. And then finally, Detroit. This is a very popular one. Rogue Clash cards get +0/+1, so they get 1 more defense. Trigger enter. Each player may reveal the top 3 cards of their deck. If they do, they put a non-Clash card with an initial resource cost of 3 or less from among them into their hand, then put the rest of the bottom of their deck in any order. So you can put a non-Clash card to another Clashground. This is a way to find other Clashgrounds. And the reason I bring these up first is with this new event card, we're going to see probably a lot of 1-drop Clashgrounds. Typically in any given 50-card deck, you're running anywhere from 4 to 8 Clashgrounds. I'd say 6 to 8 is like the normal number. However, if you look at the top 8 from the most recent premier events, some people are really cheating their Clashgrounds in terms of like not running them. A lot of people were running just 4. There was some top 8 decks that only ran 2 because they were just focused on allies or focused on, pushing tempo in other ways, so they weren't running Clashgrounds as often. But you're going to see this a lot, and I think having 4 1-drop Clashgrounds, or 0 even, out of the pool of 71 Clashgrounds we have is going to be very important. You're going to want to be able to get Clashgrounds on the field. You're not going to want your opponent to have that capability. You're going to want to be able to replace their effects, and I think some of these staple 1-drops like this that we see are going to be really, really beneficial. We then have some of the higher cost ones that have really good effects that we've seen a lot in, well, at least in Frontline and Grand Park, we've seen a good amount. And then Warzone, I think, is going to be a really interesting one to see if it ends up coming into play. So Frontline is cost 2 to play. Trigger enter. Each player may ready a Clash card they control until the start of your next turn. The portal cannot be activated. Super good effect for the portal, depending on what kind of contender you're playing. If the portal is closed, Harbinger cards you control get 1 defense. This is really good for Conquest, which is what you see in the artwork. The Conquest contender gets +1 offense on their own turn, so you kind of get like this 1/1 effect, which is really, really good. Frontline is just a really good card if you're trying to like keep tempo by you swing with something, then you play this, you ready the thing you just swing with it again, and then if the portal is closed on your turn, that thing you just swung with has 1 defense if it's a Harbinger card. So really, really good. Grant Park Chicago is probably the most premier 3-drop Clashground in my opinion. Alpha and Rogue Clash cards get +0/+2, so 2 defense. Trigger enter. You may search your deck for 1 Clash card with an initial resource cost of 5 or less. Reveal it, shuffle your deck, then add that card to your hand. So this is very, very powerful. You'll see this, like a lot of people that have like bomb 5-drops basically can find that 2 turns quicker. Because you can play this essentially on turn 3, turn 4, and then set up for your 5-drop that you're going to play on turn 5, turn 6. Really, really good on top of giving yourself +2 defense. This is a symmetrical effect, so if your opponent's playing a lot of Alpha cards as well, or a lot of Rogue cards, they're going to get that 2 defense as well. But typically this is played in decks that are going a little bit longer. It's why it's in the white color, right? A lot of life gain, a lot of deck control, and they're looking to play that 5 or 6 drop to really take the tempo of the game. Could see this card being played a lot. The one spicy kind of Clashground that I wanted to pick out was Warzone. This is a 3-drop red, requires 2 red pip to play. Counterplay, you may only activate this effect when an opponent plays a Clashground. Send that Clashground to the Oblivion. It does not interplay, then send this Clashground to the Oblivion. At the end of each player's turn, that player may ready up to 1 Harbinger Clash card they control. Harbinger Clash cards get +1/+0. I think this is a really cool one. I don't know how much play it's going to see, but being able to play this and ready up one of your Harbinger cards each turn and give your Harbinger cards +1/+0 could be really, really good. And then the first time your opponent tries to replace this card, you're basically just going to say, okay, neither one of us get a Clashground then. I'm going to send yours to the Oblivion, then I'm going to send this to the Oblivion. Neither one of us have the effects of our event card, but at the same time, you don't control Clashground, which is more important. I think this could be a really cool ability because, like, if you play this, to replace one of their Clashgrounds, you just nullified one of their Clashgrounds. Then if they play another one, you nullify that one. So you nullify 2 Clashgrounds with 1, which I think is really powerful. I could see this being played, and I'm really interested to see where people take it, because we have 71 Clashgrounds. So then we talk about contenders. Like, what contenders are going to be good with this? The thing about this, and if you look at the event card above my head, is like, it's not really... Yes, there are some obviously some synergistic stuff that you can do depending on the contender and the game plan with Clashgrounds and things like that. But I think like this is a way more universal effect than the last event card. The last event card nullified on enter abilities once per turn, basically. So that was super good. And what that did was it like completely just took out certain archetypes. Like Genesis, you see on the screen, kind of got hurt really bad. Anything that was running a lot of green on enter stuff or got hurt really bad. And so the meta got completely warped because of it. The Hidden Hand, I think, just opens up abilities to think of cool synergistic things more so than like thwarting entire decks from being played, if that makes sense. So you have like the big dogs, right? These are arguably, I mean, anyone can make a case for someone different maybe, but I think arguably these are the 3 best contenders in the game in a vacuum, right? Death, Genesis, and Torque all have very powerful kits, very naturally strong abilities. Death is a card draw extraordinaire and can apply a ton of tempo. Genesis is the king at resource manipulation, being able to use cards from his resources, being able to manipulate his resource zone, and put himself at a way bigger advantage. And then you have decks like Torque. Torque is just a very aggressive aggro deck that also has the ability to combo you out and can do a lot of cool things. So I think these 3 are the kind of the usual suspects. These are things that I think people are just going to run because they're good, and then they use the event card, maybe change up a couple different cards here and there to kind of have a little bit more synergy with it. But I expect these to be kind of like, rampant in the meta. Then you have like the tier 2s, decks that have seen a lot of play and success, but maybe not as much as the tier 1s. Warcry and Machina both are very good. Both have had wins in the past. Lord Krung is coming off of dominating the last event. That was mainly due to the event card. It took Lord Krung from a middle-of-the-road tier 2 deck to a tier 0 deck immediately. But I think that deck had so much success and people enjoy the deck so much because you draw a lot of cards, you do a lot of like mechanical things. It's a fun deck to play. I think you'll see a lot of representation with Krung still. I think people are going to have kind of fell in love with the deck a little bit because of that. So I expect all 3 of these decks to be represented some which way or form or another. I think Warcry actually has a pretty cool place in the meta, so to speak. Because just utilizing the resources, the Clashgrounds that Warcry has available that naturally fit in Warcry's kit, I think are really, really good. Super excited about that. And then Machina, obviously, I think is just constantly good, even with the errata. So I have to see how that goes. We then have some what I would say are sleepers. Sleeper, not sleepers. I think the most sleeper pick that really isn't a sleeper pick is Paul. I think Paul is actually very, very good. I think Paul is going to be able to utilize this card really well because being able to give Paul +1 attack while it's already a defensive hero or contender, like Paul already can prevent 2 damage and blocks 1 better when people attack him, and being able to give him 1 offense as well as give him a little bit more card draw. And then he starts attaching contender weapons if you go through that archetype with him. I think he'd be really good. Also giving Paul's cards super speed, some of his lower drop stuff in order to kind of equal the playing field a little bit. I think Paul could be a really good choice. Another one is Kagan. This is a little bit more of a offensive pick. Kagan cares a lot about contender weapons, a lot about swinging with the contender itself. And when your Clashground gives your contender +1 attack, Kagan's now swinging for 2 on top of all of his contender weapons. And I think he could just put a lot of pressure on his opponent. And it says the first time you play or attach a contender weapon during your turn, you may draw 1 card. So you play a Clashground, draw a card, put a weapon on him, swing with him, draw a card. Now he's swinging for 2 plus his weapon. I think he could apply a lot of pressure very quickly. Same thing with Magnate and Dominable Will. This is probably the most like out there one. I just like the idea. I hope somebody tries to crack it of taking a 2-0 contender, which is extremely aggressive contender, right? This contender is going to be 3-0 when it has the Clashground activated. So that's like super good. And whenever this card becomes a target of a non-clash buff action card, it gets +1 defense until the end of turn. So if you control a Clashground, this is coming in for 3-0. Then if you like buff it with an action card, it's coming in for 3-1 plus the buffs from whatever happened. Like this contender could be swinging by itself off of one card for like 5-1 or 5-2, which is pretty nuts. And I think it could apply a lot of pressure, and I would love to see someone try to use this to good effect. But overall, I'm super excited about this. The hidden hand definitely opens up. I like the hidden hand better than the last event card, and that's not like a negative. It's just it doesn't shut off any decks. It opens up things, and I think it makes people think about deck building. And this game is still so vastly underexplored from a deck building perspective that I'm really excited to see kind of how people take it. But if you're excited for these upcoming events, if you're an Alpha Clash player, let me know. Let me know what contender you're thinking to run. If you are not an Alpha Clash player and you may be even remotely interested in the game, I highly suggest getting involved. Super fun game. As you can see, they're doing a lot of unique, fun stuff that shake up every level of Premier play. And I think the game is just fantastic. And yeah. But thank you all so much for watching this. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not me, it's completely fine. Go to another creator at the creator worksheet down below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff. Let's get more people seeing this game, and I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank you all so much.